Today I'm diving into Nightwish's latest album, Yesterwynde, released on September 20th, 2024. The last two albums featuring Jansen were solid but underwhelming, so let's see if this one lives up to the hype. I did some research on it, and it was inspired by the death of the father of Tuomas Holopainen. So because of this sad event, the album has a darker and more emotional tone than some of the previous albums. I'm going into this album with a little bit of hesitation because their previous album, Human to Nature, was not one of my favorites because I thought it was a little too long and lacked the songwriting of some of their earlier albums. In addition, the first single, Perfume of the Timeless, didn't completely wow me. I thought it was overlong at first, but I'll give you my thoughts on this single now that I have spent some more time with it. So I'm hoping that this album is going to be an improvement, and this is the first album without Marko Hietala, whose voice and bass were really a big part of their sound. So I am a little hesitant, but with that being said, let's jump right into this review. So the album opens with this title track, and it's somewhat of an intro track, just some choir singing, and it sets the tone of the album with some classical music in the background and what sounds like a cross between New Age music and fantasy. It's a short, mostly instrumental track that's under 3 minutes. Then there is An Ocean of Strange Lands, clocking in at nearly 10 minutes. It has that classic Nightwish sound reminiscent of Once, with heavy guitars, symphonic elements, and theatrical shifts. It blends adventure and drama seamlessly. While longer, it kept me engaged throughout. After this is a song called the Antikythera Mechanism. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. And this one has some of those Middle Eastern or Arabian sounds as well as some guitars in the background. This one has vocals by both Floor and Troy Donockley, who has been doing the male vocals for the last two albums. So this track takes listeners on a journey through the dramatic highs and lows, weaving metal and symphonic elements together. There are parts where the guitars really stand out and have a darker tone, and there are other parts where the symphonic parts send the listener to this fantasy world. So far, everything on this album sounds very big, and everything just stands out. The song also has lots of peaks and valleys with some heavier parts as well as some softer parts that are interwoven into the song. The next two songs are the singles that were released prior to the release of this album. I have spoken about these songs briefly, but I'm going to talk about them again. The Day Of was one of the more radio-friendly songs. This song has lyrics touching on the apocalyptic AI future. It manages to be both thought-provoking and catchy. This one also has a children's choir. I've been listening to it since it had come out. And it's one of those songs that gets stuck in your head. By the way, if you're enjoying this review, please hit the thumbs up. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Next is the lead single called Perfume of the Timeless. At first I didn't like this song because I thought like it took too long for the vocals to come in. Because the beginning of the song has this extended instrumental. But over time, this song has grown on me. It has different parts. There's lots of different sections. And I like it within the album's context. So moving on. They follow this up with a song called Sway. It's a shorter song that's just under 4.5 minutes. It's mostly an acoustic folk song with both Floor and Troy singing in harmony. It's a very laid back and soft song. There's not much going on here. There's a little bit of orchestration and some interesting percussion towards the end. But otherwise, this was a very laid back song that gives the listener a break of some of the longer and more complex songs that were on the first half of the album. After this is a song called The Children of Ata. This is another song that starts off with some folk sounds but slowly builds up. This one reminded me of some of their older stuff. This is supposedly a true story about children being trapped on an island. The story has some heavy riffs as well as some choirs in the background. Floor's vocals are very melodic. I thought this one was one of the better album tracks. Then there's the song Something Wicked. This one has a darker tone. There's a thick bass guitar and melodic leads. Floor sings in a softer tone in the song. I like the guitar riffs in the second part of the song. They work well with the melody. The instrumentation is also very good. It has some dark classical music sounds during some of the softer parts. Floor sings in an operatic style as well, and I liked this song. After this is a track called Spider Silk. The first part of the song has some dark and gothic piano playing, and I like how the song starts off. Many people have compared this to a dark passion play, and I can see why. The gothic piano and haunted vibe really stands out. I like the chorus in the song too, when she sings like this spin, spin away over and over. And this one also has Troy doing some vocals as well. The song ends with some slower and darker tones, also giving me a haunted house type of vibe. But before I continue, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can get updated on all my new albums, as well as classic album reviews. So let me continue. After this is a song called Hireth. This is another one that sounds like a folk song at first. The song picks up the pace about halfway through the song, then it starts to sound like some of their classic albums. I read a comment of somebody comparing it to the Wishmaster album, and I could hear that comparison. The song has some heavy and light parts as well, and some big folk metal influence. Next up we have The Weave. The song is pretty heavy. I like the guitar sounds on this one, but it also has this theatrical aspect of it. There were a lot of people comparing it to A Nightmare Before Christmas in the comment section. This one has some of those awesome double bass drumming. Floor Jansen also shows off her best vocal ability during the last 30 seconds of this song. The last song on the album is called Lantern Light. This is a 6-minute song, and like many of the other songs, it starts off pretty soft. The song has a very emotional vocal delivery by both Floor as well as Troy. This was one of the more laid-back songs of the album. It was mostly soft orchestration, but I think it was one of those songs that really showcased the vocals. So in conclusion, this was definitely the best of the 3 albums with Floor Jansen. It also has probably the best album since Dark Passion Play. Not only surpasses the last 2 albums with Floor, but I feel like it's a return to form. It's an album that draws on emotion and fantasy while pushing their sound forward. So my score is going to be a 9 out of 10. I know it's a high score, but I'm thinking it's definitely worth it because I feel it's the type of album that can get better with repeat listens. Let me know what you thought of Yesterwynde, and if you're curious, check out my review of Century Child, and I'll stick that one right here.